I want them to be found because I need to know if they succumb to cannibalism. I mean, they're dead. Like, it would be legitimately shocking if they were alive by the time they find it, if they even find it at all.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan. So we're coming into the sub. This is...
My friend in Turkey just bought that controller a couple months back because it's cheap. That should say a lot of other safety protocols. Yeah, these motherfuckers were using like the cheapest Logitech controller they can. Like, I think using controllers of that sort is normal process for a lot of this shit. Which is, I guess, surprising, but hold on. But I don't know. I trust Logitech. The controller did not fail. Anyone blaming the controller is not a true gamer. True. But they're usually wired. They use the unwired. Yeah, that's... Xbox controls are pretty popular. They detected banging as of an hour ago. Maybe they brought AAA batteries with them instead of AA batteries. Why can't I watch the video? I mean, yeah, the search mission is still going. I mean, they're fucking billionaires. Of course it's still going. These are like the most untouchable people in society. You know what I mean? These are the people that are not supposed to die, right? These are the people that are not supposed to have these kinds of issues. I mean, if you're dropping 250 bills to go fucking down there and see the goddamn Titanic and then, you know, this kind of shit happens is a bit wild. So, Michael Gillan was the first correspondent to report live from the wreck of Titanic, but his recall of the vessel he was on nearly ended up trapped. Dr. Gillan was working as a science editor for America's ABC network. He told BBC4 Radio how they toured the bow where everything had gone well. So people have talked about their experiences here. Let's watch this like promotional video from this.
This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
Well, that, I mean, okay, that's a bit crazy. Like, you watched that and you were like, this is my shit. Death by Joy-Con drift. I mean, this is crazy.
Our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the second year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it. So we want to document what the wreck is like now, and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay, and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues to collapse forward. We saw some of the railing is starting to lose its structural strength, which is really a sad thing. That's when it's going to stop looking like the Titanic.
Dude. How do you how do you start a business where you're like, there's a market for this. There's a market for just like really wealthy people that have enough money to go down to the depths and like, you know, go see the motherfucking Titanic. And it's like, it's enough. Like you can make, like you can make enough money doing this. I guess part of the reason why you can make enough money doing this is because, you know, you don't have the best safety protocols, right? But like who even begins this process? Like how do you begin the process of being like, here's what my business. The clip is from this video, by the way. Yeah, we're gonna watch the full clip. Hold on. There's also another side to this, obviously, because this isn't the first or last shipwreck that has happened this week. There are a lot of people who, there was another issue that occurred. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me finish this video.
The interest in the Titanic is the reason we go there, because people are willing to fund this kind of exploration and science, and that gives a completely different research component that almost nowhere else in the deep ocean can you get funding to go back every year for decades and see how coral reefs develop and see how metals decay and see how currents change. I mean, that just, you can't justify that. No government will pay for that. Nobody wants to go back to just some old reef, but people do want to go back to the Titanic, and that's why we go, is because people want to go.
The full documentary on the fucking the billionaire sub, A Visit to RMS Titanic.
It's hard to refuse. Our David Pogue was invited recently to join the highly select and very small group of people who've actually made it to the bottom of the Atlantic to view firsthand the eerie remains of the Titanic. It promised to be quite a journey, quite a story besides.
Maybe you've heard the story of the Titanic.
Iceberg, right ahead!
I think there was a movie about it.
Come on, give me your hand!
For the most part, the only people who've ever seen the Titanic since that night have been scientists. Until now.
It's a very unusual business. It's its own category. It's a new type of travel.
Stockton Rush is the CEO of OceanGate, a company that offers dives to the Titanic in a one-of-a-kind carbon fiber submersible for $250,000 per person.
Who are the typical clientele for these missions?
We have clients that are Titanic enthusiasts, which we refer to as Titaniacs. We've had people who have mortgaged their home to come and do the trip. And we have people who don't think twice about a trip of this cost. We had one gentleman who had won the lottery.
And this summer, Rush invited us to come along. We departed from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, the easternmost tip of North America, about 400 miles from the Titanic.
That's the last we'll be seeing of land for 8 days.
Aboard a chartered oil rig servicing ship. During our 2-day journey into the North Atlantic, we got to know our fellow adventurers. They included everyone from Indian industry mogul Shrenik Baldota.
Yeah, they call me a wild monk.
The wild monk?
Yeah, because I look like a monk. I'm very calm, but I have these extreme interests.
To bank executive Renata Rojas.
I'm trying to fulfill a dream. I've been wanting to go to Titanic and see it with my own eyes since before they found it.
She's been saving up to see the Titanic for 30 years.
Dreams don't have a price. Some people want a Ferrari, some people buy a house. I wanted to go to Titanic.
But the star of the show is the Titan.
Dude, I will never understand it. I usually take a don't yuck other people's yum kind of approach to situations like this, but this is just it's just so wildly dangerous too. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. I'm not like a big explorer dude. So it's extra hard for me to look at a situation like this and be like, yeah, that's fine. It's valid.
Stockton Rush's custom-built submersible. 5-inch thick carbon fiber capped on each end by a dome of titanium. If all went well, I myself would be spending about 12 hours sealed inside on a dive to the Titanic. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
Oh! Take your shoes off, that's customary.
Okay. Wow.
Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button, that's it. It should be like an elevator. You know, it shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet, sort of. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness. I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's certain things that you want to be buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still gonna be safe.
Your controller can drift. You know? Wonder what happens when that happens, you know? Think about that.
But when expedition manager Kyle Bingham studied the forecast for our Titanic dive, he concluded that the waves would be too big to launch the sub.
We're looking at 6 feet.
Only bad things happen in the ocean. Yeah, surfing is cool, but you're taking your life into your hands every time you paddle out. Yeah, but like there's a difference between a hobby, a sport, an activity, and the understandable risk that you're taking on when you engage in such an endeavor versus something like this. There's always a cost-benefit analysis where you have to look at a situation and assume risks, understandable risks, and weigh them against the benefits of engaging in said action. And there's obviously a difference between, like, someone said, oh, well, you know, you love going to Japan. You know, these guys want to go to the Titanic. Titanic is kind of like, you know, their Japan. That's what someone said in the chat. It's like, yeah, there's a risk when you fly, I guess. But it's, you know, it's infinitely smaller than hypocrite. Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I travel to Japan. These guys travel to the Titanic. It's also not $250,000 to travel to Japan. So there's that too. I feel the same way about these people trapped as I would anyone croaking on Everest or someone blowing up on a tourist space flight. You took the risk. Exactly. It's hard. It's hard for me to sit here and act like I give a shit about this. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get myself to care. I know that there was like a normie there too, right? Them traveling to the Titanic is probably you traveling to the grocery store in terms of money spent. Yeah, that too, for sure.
And then it bumps up a little bit.
Our Titanic adventure would have to wait. But Stockton Rush offered our CBS crew a consolation dive to the continental shelf 80 miles away.
Apparently there's a lot of sheer cliffs underwater to see, shark breeding ground. They say it's really cool.
The crew closes the hatch from the outside with 17 bolts. There's no other way out. Here's how the launch is supposed to go. The sub is attached to a huge floating platform. Motorboats drag it down the big orange ramp into the sea.
We're in the water, we're floating. Woo! You're gonna come and prepare the platform for the next phase, which is the sinking.
The platform submerges to around 30 feet, where the water is much calmer than on the surface.
You're in the water, people.
Divers detach the sub from the platform, and away you go, in theory.
Hull integrity, holding.
And what happened next? You won't be disappointed, as we'll show you a little later on Sunday morning. Our dive in the OceanGate submersible had made it down only 37 feet when this happened.
So apparently those floats there came off the platform and that wasn't supposed to happen, so we're scrubbing?
Yeah, I think that's the consensus up here.
Copy that.
I was crushed. My diving adventures were over.
Every expedition has its challenges, all of them. I have not been in one expedition where things have to be adjusted, adapted, changed, or canceled at the end of the day. You're at the mercy of the weather.
Renata Rojas speaks from painful experience. Over the years, she's been booked on 3 Titanic expeditions. All 3 were canceled.
You just cry a lot and just keep the dream alive, because it's something that I have to do.
Our expedition had to wait out 2 more days of rough seas. Fortunately, there's a lot to do in the North Atlantic.
I'm the king of this!
I'm not gonna lie, this is making it so much harder for me to feel bad. It's just like the more I see people that are like this attached to seeing a fucking inanimate object that is like dead by even inanimate object measurements. You know what I mean? That's the funniest part. Like, you know how motherfuckers like fall... I gotta stop cursing so much. You know how people fall in love with roller coasters and whatnot? At least the roller coaster is like an inanimate object but alive. The Titanic is like even dead by inanimate object standards. You know what I mean? It's just like you're there to see the corpse of an inanimate object. OceanGate CEO challenging the very concept of safety in a CBS interview.
There's a limit. You know, at some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules. There's a limit.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool. That's...
You know, at some point...
This guy seemingly has some great ideas. This is what I want to hear from my $250,000 Titanic experience owner. Okay? This is what I like to hear.
Surface vessel!
There's sea life, ship tours, atmospheric effects, and that, my friends, is called a fog bow. You can also hang out with scientists. Researchers like deep-sea biologist Steve Ross and ocean archaeologist Rob Mather join every expedition. In effect, the passengers are funding their science.
How scientific is this expedition?
I don't do show science. So our job is to do real and important and valid work.
While you're down there, will you look for this giant heart-shaped diamond on a chain?
I think that's not there.
On our 6th day at sea, the weather cleared. The dive was a go.
Titan sitting at 3742 meters, reports on bottom.
But that was the last of the good news.
And I said, do you know where we are? 100 meters to the bow, then 470 to the bow. If you are lost, so are we.
There's no GPS underwater, so the surface ship is supposed to guide the sub to the shipwreck by sending text messages.
Turn 30 degrees right?
Probably, 30 degrees.
But on this dive, communication somehow broke down. The sub never found the wreck.
We were lost. We were lost for 2.5 hours.
Rush
Bro, there are 1 million red flags. Like, every part of this story is almost completely and utterly filled to the brim with red flags. Like, this literally was like, hey, guys, I've built a contraption. It costs $250,000, and you maybe get to see through a monitor something that you find to be cool, whatever it is that you like. There's also a 93% chance that while you're in the contraption, a nail will hit you directly in the fucking dome on your temple, and you will die a gruesome and horrifying death. Who's like, oh, sign me up. I love that. I love looking at like a random thing through this tiny monitor. Do you know, have you been following this at all? Probably not, right? Because we've been
doing things, so I haven't had a chance to follow it, but I don't think you're on the right train of thought with your takes about adventure. Like, I don't know about the build quality. I don't know about what the physical like submarine device or submersible looks like, but like seeking adventure is a good thing. You don't leave your house, so you wouldn't get it.
I already talked about the risk reward assessment. I recognize my own personal shortcomings, I guess, in that regard. But the risk reward in this circumstance doesn't make sense. Like, it's easy to just say you don't leave your house, so what the fuck do you know? But I wouldn't have this kind of take on, like, for example, someone in the chat said surfing is very dangerous. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's
motorcycles are dangerous.
Yeah, motorcycles are dangerous, but I don't think that that's like I would never make the argument that like if someone died while they're surfing, that it was like, oh yeah, well you fucked around and you found out. I would never do it. I'm scared of the ocean. But if a shark attacked you and killed you while you were, swimming in I guess dangerous waters, I still would think that you knew the risks, you assumed the risks, but it's still a perfectly valid thing that a lot of people engage in, and the risks are relatively low, whereas like the rewards are understandable. This is a situation where the risks are incredibly high and the rewards are almost nothing.
No, the rewards are really high too. You get to be one of the few people. Like, so I don't know much about it, and my takes might be wrong, but one of the guys was on one of the Jeff Bezos Blue Origin like things, right? So you get to be one of the very few people in the world that have done this, and that alone, I mean, I don't want to just call it bragging rights, but like that alone is worth a lot to a lot of people. Not to you, I totally get it, but like the sense of adventure, the sense of like being able to go somewhere or see something that no other person can do in a world that's quickly becoming accessible to everyone to go see, use however they wish. Like, I get that. That's it's a bad comparison, but like that's why I like off-roading, right?
Have you
get to go on top of a mountain. That's awesome. Now you get to go to the bottom of the ocean. That's sick.
This in and of itself makes it ridiculous.
So this reminds me of like experimental aircraft, where like if you want, you can go build an airplane in your backyard, right? But you also can't put other people in it without having the proper regulations in place. So obviously the ocean is not regulated in the same way. But
I made a comparison to Mount Everest, which has like become it's like slowly but surely getting destroyed right now because wealthy people have turned it into a relatively accessible form of posturing and claiming that this is an accolade, this is an accomplishment that you did. It's like, I mean, you're being fucking handheld and carried by a Sherpa for the most part, but like ultimately it's just for like a photo and to say that you did it. And
it's more than that. I give them the benefit of the doubt.
It's bragging rights. You just said it's bragging rights.
Yeah, I know, but it's more than that. It's an experience that you get to do, right? It's no different than like some crazy, Tokyo thing that we could do where you get to like eat pufferfish or something, right? It's just more extreme and more awesome and bigger.
Okay, but the issue is you do a risk reward assessment. Everyone obviously has a different one, but there are certain edge cases that fucking make sense. Like, you signed up for something that you know has an incredibly high likelihood of failure, especially because
I would call it incredibly high.
No, it is. You're absolutely wrong on.
It's definitely higher, like substantially higher, but like it's not like 1 out of 2 people were gonna die.
Look at the situation.
Okay.
David Pogue, remember my voyage to the Titanic last summer? In OceanGate's homemade carbon fiber sub, they took passengers out again this summer, but as of today, the sub is lost. Do submersibles have something similar to an aircraft's emergency locator transmitter that can be detected by searchers? This submersible does not have any kind of beacon like that. On my expedition last summer, they did indeed get lost for about 5 hours, and adding such a beacon was discussed.
Dude, you're making an argument for regulation.
Yeah, no shit. Like, to be clear, I was not on the sub that day. I was on the ship at the surface in the control room. They could still send short text to the sub, but did not know where it was. It was quiet and very tense, and they shut off the ship's internet to prevent us from tweeting. Nice. Is there a reason that detail didn't make it in the show? Yes. The company gave us a different rationale for shutting off the internet, that this could be an emergency and that they needed all channels open, and we had no idea how to confirm whether or not that was true.
So the one thing to keep in mind is when you're at the cutting edge of doing something, and this is, right, they're developing this new technology, this new vehicle, this new like service, whatever it is, a lot of the stuff that you're used to isn't in place. Like, for example, with airplanes, back in like the early 20th century, they didn't have like TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system, or they didn't have like GPS. They didn't have like ways to track airplanes, see where they're what. They literally had paper maps that they would like fly visually and like be like, okay, there's the river, there's the mountain, turn right here.
Yeah,
right?
but so no. This is akin to a gyrocopter in times of modern flight, because like it's DIY. It's designed like a fucking tin can. It's like something that you would make in your backyard, and there's literally.
It's funny, I have built a submersible before.
Okay, well, there's literally fucking extra components that they could have put in, which clearly and demonstrably have had an issue. If one more person says move the mic closer to fucking Murat, I'm literally ending the stream permanently today. Okay? Shut the fuck up. Shut up. This is what we have. This is what we're working with. Shut the fuck up.
Okay, back to what you were saying. The point I was trying to make is those technologies don't exist. Like, yeah, sure, some crazy Navy submarine somewhere might have some crazy communication system, right? Sure, but that might not be available to the public. That might not be available to these guys at this level. So, I mean, I assume communicating underwater is really difficult, right? Your communication is traveling through a different medium. Like, instead of air or space, it's going through water. So, like, radio waves don't transmit the same way. They're probably doing text.
They're saying that the ETL, tracking software, which 100% exists, like, that's crazy that you're saying, you're making it seem like this is an impossible task, is like around $900 or some shit, which is...
And it works through 2 miles of water?
I don't know what the distance is, but there are literal, like, we have submarine technology.
Sure.
Right
I'm not saying they didn't do their they did their due diligence. They didn't exist. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm just saying it's hard when you're at the front edge. That's it. I'm not arguing in favor of these guys.
Yeah, but that's the reason why I explained it that's the reason why I'm explaining it to you like this. It's like building a gyrocopter in your fucking backyard and putting people on it and then taking it to altitudes that you know they can't fly at and selling that experience, and dumb motherfuckers being like, I know it's so dumb to do this, but I love the fucking thrill, the adventure, okay? And you're doing that at a time when, like, there are modern tools that would make it much easier to deal with certain redundancies, certain situations that could break down. They didn't fucking do the upgrades. And it clearly failed multiple times, which is why I find it really fucking stupid. They have a blog post with the same points Murad is saying. Most major marine operators require chartered vessels that are classed by an independent group such as the American Bureau of Shipping or one of the many others. The groups are assembled very detailed standards of classing everything from oil tankers to auxiliary ships and stuff. Classing assures, yeah, these guys, bro, these...
I don't know what you're saying.
I mean, they didn't have any of the fucking standards. They were basically, they built a tin can.
They were YOLOing it for sure.
Yeah.
That's a risk that people are taking, right? I don't want to argue in like for, you know, the free market or whatever, but when you're doing something that's not normal, it's on you to figure out if that's a smart idea or not.
Yeah, the fucking dude 100% just did not do the necessary things you need to do to be able...
I'm not talking about the owner of the company. I mean, I don't know the particulars, but I'm sure there was more they could have done, right? In hindsight, there's lots you can do. But I was actually talking about the people who are going on the voyage. And funny enough,
I'm also calling Jake right now.
Yeah. Funny enough, one of the biggest drivers here, I'm surprised that no one's talking about, is insurance companies. Like life insurance for the millionaire or whatever billionaires that are on the boat. The insurance company for that for the company. That's kind of a big driver usually for adding these redundancies and systems in.
These guys are 100% criminal, and they will probably get punished because they killed a bunch of billionaires, for the record.
The Ocean Gate people?
Yeah. Former Ocean Gate employee was fired after raising concerns for sub's worthiness to descend to extreme depths and refusing the green light man tests of early models. He was director of marine operations and responsible for safety of all crew and clients. Wait, hold on. Oh, Jake is calling me. Moshi Moshi, I'm live.
Ohio.
Hello? What the Bro, you... Oh, it's working. Where are you?
I'm naked.
Oh, you're naked.
Okay, so put it on camera. Got it.
We're FaceTiming. We're live. I'm live streaming currently.
I'm gonna take a shower.
Shower stream?
Okay. Which one of the experiences that you designed should we be doing today together? And what's your ETA? And we can always like waste time fucking around, but it seemingly is not raining as of now. Yeah, it's overcast. It might start raining at 1 p.m. 40%, 2 p.m. 60%, 3 p.m. 70%, but by that point we might, move on to an indoor proportion. Bye.
So there's one comment that just came by that I think is a really good point. And it said the CEO's on the fucking sub, right? The guy obviously thought it was safe.
No, he literally said safety is bullshit.
Well, no, but he thought that the risk was not substantial enough for him to not do it.
I think
unless he's suicidal, like that's it. That's the only logic out there.
Yeah, I think he's a fucking idiot. And I think he got so horny for... Like, he literally said safety is a waste, dude. I think
there's
he was
a limit.
Fucking idiot.
At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Don't get in your car. Don't do anything. At some point, you're going to take some risk. And it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
Yeah, he's... I want to make sure that the point he's trying to get across and the actual, literal interpretation of what he's saying are not as understood that it's not directly the same thing, right? He's talking about safety regulations and how they can be cumbersome. He's wrong, obviously, right? But he's not saying let's just fucking sit on a bunch of TNT, light it on fire, see what happens. Safety doesn't matter. He's saying that the irony is he was wrong.
No, the irony is not only that he was wrong at the top of the hour, and he got caught without a subscription.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay. So if you no longer, you take a risk, you can see a fucking ad break at the top of the hour, you know that's going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen if you are unsubscribed. So don't get caught with your dick in your hand, you know what I mean? And subscribe. for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime so that you can avoid the top of the hour ad breaks. Now, having said that, the irony here is that this motherfucker builds spaceships. So while he's over here talking about corner cutting and how you can just like, I don't know.
I'm not saying you should.
I mean, I know, but like you're coming across like you're defending this dude who is like very
No,
clearly...
I'm trying to help interpret the situation. I don't agree with what he did. I think it's wrong.
No shit. You fucking murder people, dude. What the fuck?
Says he'll offer those passengers a free do-over next year. And that's just one cost of doing this business.
David Pogue?
Are you making money on this operation?
No. So, not yet. People might say, hey, that's a lot of money, $250,000. But we went through over $1 million of gas.
It was our last day at sea. There was one last chance to reach the Titanic. And this time, good weather and good fortune were aligned.
Slow down, it's just in front of us. Just we are in front of the anchor.
Oh my gosh, here's the bow, guys. You guys see it?
Look at that, though, how it just kind of emerges out. Yeah. That is otherworldly.
And there it was, the famous bow, the ship's wheel pedestal, and memorial plaques from old expeditions. The bollards that once secured the ship in port, and the davits that lowered the lifeboats. The hole where a huge smokestack once stood, and the skylight over the radio room that sent out distress signals. Now, Titanic tourism has its detractors, but these expeditions don't disturb the wreck or retrieve artifacts, and Stockton Rush says that they're valuable to history.
At some point, there will be no Titanic. It will be eaten by the bacteria. It'll be an artificial reef that doesn't look like the Titanic.
Renata Rojas would agree. After 30 years of trying, she finally got to see the most famous shipwreck in the world.
That's
oh my gosh, yeah, I got the wreck.
I cannot I cannot begin to tell you how fucking stupid all of this looks to me. I know.
You obviously don't get it.
I'm admitting that I'm like not the clientele for this kind of thing. Okay, I'm not.